Hi everyone, Emily here from Emily Reads, and today I have for you my April wrap-up. So first things before I even talk about all the books read, I do want to know, I do have my window open and I live somewhat near a busy street, so hopefully you can't hear the cars too much. I did go have a Zoom meeting earlier this month, and I had my window open and they said that they couldn't really hear the cars. So fingers crossed, because it's beautiful out and I want to get fresh air while I can, because in Illinois we go to from really cold to like super hot and muggy, and there's a very small window of time when you can have your windows open and it be enjoyable. So I want to enjoy the windows open while I can and while my allergies allow me to do so. But April was, the TBR just got tossed out of the window. So, trying to figure out how to speak on why that is. So I'm a teacher. We had a situation at school. It made the news. It was somewhat traumatic. Fortunately, everyone was safe. But because of that, my brain just kind of tossed out the window my TBR, and I was going to read Oathbringer, and I just could not focus on it at all. So I did a whole lot of romance reading this month. So if you're not a big romance fan, you might want to skip this video. I will be honest in saying that, because only one book was not a romance book. I did read traditional romance and like contemporary romance and romantasy and one historical fiction. So I just want to be upfront there. That being said, I read 11 books. 4 were audiobooks, and those were rereads. 6 were physical, 1 was an e-read, and one of those physical books, while I gave it 3 stars, I am putting that book in my Panko shop, and you'll see that in a minute. Sorry, I had my thing there. So first, I'm going to talk about my audiobooks, because I read the first 4 books I listened to the first 4 books in the Bloodline series. So that would be Bloodlines, The Golden Lily, The Indigo Spell, and The Fiery Heart by Richelle Mead. And now the Bloodline series is a YA series. It's a spin-off from the Vampire Academy. And they did make a movie out of the Vampire Academy. The movie was horrible. They made, it was just so campy. It was weird. They made a TV series out of, I think Paramount had it, or Peacock, I don't know. I can't remember which one. They made a TV series out of Vampire Academy, and they threw in some stuff that was in the books. So, of the 2 series, Vampire Academy and Bloodlines, I enjoyed Vampire Academy. I do like Bloodlines more. So Bloodlines, basically, in the world that we are in, there are Moroi. And Moroi are vampires that have magical powers, and they're tied to the elements. So fire, water, air, and earth. There's also a 5th type of magic that Moroi vampires can use, called spirit, and that's very rare. And the use of it can cause a person to develop mental health issues. But a person who uses spirit can also bring someone back to life. That will be key and for the premise for this whole entire series. Then we have Dhampir. And Dhampir are kind of guardians. So Dhampir are a race that are a result from Moroi breeding with humans, or Moroi breeding with Dhampirs, or Dhampirs and Dhampirs. Okay, now it is taboo for Moroi to marry anyone who is not Moroi. Okay, and then we have Strigoi. Oh, I'm sorry. And Dhampirs are, they're their whole role, their whole reason for being is to guard the Moroi, because the Moroi are kind of like the royalty. And they have to guard the Moroi against the Strigoi. And the Strigoi are your traditional vampires that we think of that are set to kill people. Okay? Now, in the Bloodline series, our main female character is Sydney Sage, and she is actually human. She is from an organization called Alchemists. And the Alchemists, they know about Dhampirs and Moroi and Strigoi. The rest of the human world does not, but Alchemists do. And their task is to protect the human world from finding out about the Strigoi, the Moroi, and the Dhampirs, and also to kind of clean up after the Moroi and the Strigoi. So, say the Guardians, the Dhampir Guardians, are able to kill a Strigoi, the Alchemists, they come in and they kind of clean up things and kind of explain away anything that needs to be explained away and get rid of the body. Okay? Now, so Sydney Sage is this alchemist in charge of a mission, and that mission is to protect Jill. And Jill is the sister of Vasilisa, and they're needing to protect Jill. And so, for reasons that will become spoilery for the Vampire Academy, so I'm not going into that. I've already kind of given some spoilers for the Vampire Academy. Don't want to give too much more. So she's tasked with protecting her, and they go to Palm Springs and enroll at a school, and they're going to pass each other off as relatives, and they're going to study at this school and just be school kids. And our main male character, Adrian Avashkov, he is a Moroi, and he goes with them because he is bound to Jill. He is a spirit user who was able to save Jill's life. And so he needs to go to kind of help explore and this bond that he has with Jill. I love the Bloodline series way more, for sure more than I like the Vampire Academy. I will say this, the Fiery Heart, which is the 4th book in Bloodlines, I did not enjoy as much on a reread because it was mainly YA relationship angst. That pretty much was what it was, and it was meh. Within the Bloodline series, there are a variety of perils that they have to fight against. People who are trying to harm Jill, people who are trying to harm Sydney as she learns about some powers and abilities that she has. And so I don't want to go into too much because it's just spoilery for the whole series. But I really do enjoy the series, and I'm currently working through the last book in the series. All right, then the one non-romance book that I read is Between Shades of Grey by Ruta Sepetys. And this is a historical fiction book. It's a YA book. I gave it 5 stars. It's set during World War II, and it's during Stalin's Reign of Terror. And so what I liked about this is that it covers a time period or an aspect of World War II that we don't talk too much about. A lot of our historical fiction books that are around, I just need to get a little bit more comfortable there. A lot of the books that are World War II related center around the Holocaust. So, and I did not know that this occurred. So, well, I did, but I didn't understand it. Like, in school, I learned, like, people went to Siberia. But that's really all I knew. I didn't understand for how long, and how terrible it was. So, Lena, she is a teenager in Lithuania, and her family is arrested in the middle of the night, and they are deported, and we follow her journey from Lithuania all through Russia up to the Arctic Circle of Siberia. And the book lasts for about a year, maybe, well, about a year and a half. And it's just utterly horrifying what they faced and what I did not realize about this time period. So the book only lasts for a year and a half, but most people were there for like 10 years or longer. And when they returned home, I mean, their homes were gone because they were taken by Russians who supported the Communist Party and supported Stalin. So their homes were taken, and some people who had taken over their homes even took their names, which I didn't know about that. And what I didn't understand is that when they came back to their homes, they weren't allowed to talk about what happened. They weren't allowed to talk about the fact that they were in Siberia for being arrested for just speaking out, even just speaking out against the Communist Party or against Stalin. They were deported to Siberia, and they could not talk about what they experienced because communists is still in existence. They run the risk of being arrested, and deported back to those labor prisons again. And so no one talked about it until communist fell in the 90s. Or communism in Russia fell in the 90s. That is horrifying to me. So I do recommend this book. I think it should be required reading. I have a friend who is Lithuanian. Her family is from there. She was not born and raised in Lithuania, but her husband was. And so I do plan on talking with them about this book, just because I want to hear what their experience is, what their knowledge of this time period is, and what their experience is. I'm more curious to hear from him. Just curious to see, like, does he have family members who were impacted by this? So I do recommend this. I do plan on watching the movie. The movie is called Ashes in the Snow, so I'm going to have to find where I can stream it. Then I read A Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J. Maas, and I gave this 5 stars as well. I finally understand. So, like, I will say this. I've been spoiled a little bit for books 2 and 3, and for some in the Silver Flames, or House of Silver Flame, or Court of Silver Flames. So I was spoiled a little bit for this because, like, watching Instagram Reels and YouTube Shorts, like, I've just been a little bit spoiled. But I was like, ooh, now I understand the whole hello, Feyre darling. So good. I gave it 5 stars. I definitely started tabbing. Yeah, it was good. So it's hard to try to explain this without spoiling stuff from ACOTAR. But in this book, we follow Feyre, who is living in the realm of the fairies, or the realm of the Fae, and dealing with all the politics between the Spring Court and the Night Court and the other courts, and then fallout from what happened in Under the Mountain and with Amarantha from ACOTAR. So we picked that up. Really enjoyed it. And then I read Just for the Summer by Abby Jimenez. I loved this book. I loved the mental health representation in this book. So in this book, we follow Emma, and Justin. And every time Emma and Justin date someone, that person ends up breaking up with them and then finding their person that they want to be with forever. So they decide, you know what, let's break this curse. So let's fake date, and then we can break the curse. And then when we break up, then we will meet the person that we're meant to be with. And Emma is a traveling nurse, so she moves into where Justin lives just for the summer. and that's how long their relationship is going to last. Emma's story and her backstory is heartbreaking, and some people might say, how could Emma act this way? There are some things that Emma does that I think people might judge and might judge harshly. And I honestly found her actions to be a very realistic depiction of how someone might disassociate from trauma, and how ongoing, like how trauma, if it has not been healed, can still cause someone to disassociate. And so that's why I really liked this book. It was very realistic to me. It was heartbreaking, but it was also, I just loved their relationship. I also, there is tie-in to characters from, sorry, I'm looking to my bookshelf, Part of Your World and Yours Truly. And so we get like the doctors from Yours Truly, because it's set in the same town as Part of Your World and Yours Truly. We get the doctors from Yours Truly in this book, and the tie-in to the characters from I said fart. I did on accident. So the tie-in to the characters from Part of Your World. It's heartbreaking. I was mind blown, and I liked the tie-in, but it was also just heartbreaking. Yeah, I do recommend this. They market this as like a companion. I really do feel like you could read this without reading Yours Truly, but you cannot read this book without first reading Part of Your World. So if you do pick this book up, make sure you read Part of Your World, because you're not going to understand some of the things that happen in this book without Part of Your World. And then I read A Court of Wings and Ruin by Sarah J. Maas. I loved. There were moments where it's like, what? Like, I was very pissed at Amren for a while, and then realized what she did, and was like, okay. I was like, what? With a moment with Jurian. Yeah, it just, like, there were some jaw-dropping moments. There was a moment with a mirror that I realized, like, what she was going to see in that mirror before it was revealed. I knew what it was. That to me wasn't shocking, but I liked it. I gave this 4.5 stars. And the reason why I gave this 4.5 stars is I felt like it suffered from some pacing towards the beginning. But then the last 100, 200 pages were just wonderful. And then my ebook that I read was Counted by Noelle Adams. And this is a contemporary romance, and I don't remember the main characters' names. Sorry. But I read it fast in a day. So that was nice. It was a nice fast read. But our main male character, his mother passed away from a brain tumor. And he's a writer, and he starts experiencing these headaches and severe migraines. And so he goes to the doctor to figure out what's going on. And he hears, you have the same kind of brain cancer that your mother had, and you've got 3 weeks to live. Or not 3 weeks, 3 months to live. And so he decides to fulfill like his mother's wishes before he dies, and he gets married to someone that he's known for his throughout childhood. And so it's not an arranged marriage, but it's kind of like a marriage of convenience, kind of like, let's marry so we can fulfill some of my dying mother's wishes, and I can honor that, and this will help you as well being supported. And while they're married, they he needs to finish. He's a writer. He's trying to finish his last book, and then also do some things together before he passes away. So they're going to travel the world, and I enjoyed it. I felt like it was kind of a repetitive pattern in that it was kind of like, we're going to hook up. It is open door. I should add that. So they would hook up, then they would like travel to a place. He would have a severe migraine. She would have to nurse him. They would hook up. They would travel to a place. He would have a severe migraine. They would hook up. And it just kind of followed a pattern, and it kind of got old after a while, where it was just kind of like, can we explore more of the relationship as opposed to, here we traveled, oh my gosh, I'm nursing him through this migraine, now we're hooking up. I wish more had been done to develop the relationship. And I know Noelle Adams can do that because I've read better by her. I also read some short stories this month. So I read 5 short stories, Inside Jobs and Briefcases. I'm not going to talk about all of them individually, but these were the short stories that are between Small Favors and Turncoat. There's one that I really liked, and that was, let me see if I can remember the name of it. It's not back. I'm hoping I can remember the name of it. It wasn't Day Off. Day Off was okay. Maybe it wasn't Warrior. Warrior I liked because that kind of gave us kind of Michael and his story and where he is. Is it Backup? Oh yeah, it's Backup. Okay. So Backup. I really liked Backup. Sorry about that brief moment there. And the reason why I really liked Backup is because it's told from Thomas's point of view. And wow, to get into his head, because you realize just how much he's holding that beast that wants to devour people at bay. And so I thought that was fascinating to get into his mind. Really enjoyed that. And then I read Funny Story by Emily Henry, and this will be going in my Pango shop. I really wanted to like this. Anything like when she does her story, like I loved Book Lovers, I loved Beach Read. I was like, oh, it's gonna be about a librarian. We're gonna feature books. We're gonna love on books. So the premise is Daphne, and the premise is somewhat similar to Just for the Summer. So Daphne and Miles, they're roommates. And the reason why they're roommates is that Daphne's fiance breaks up with her for Miles's fiance. And so Daphne moves in with Miles because she needs a place to live. And so she's a librarian at this small town, and Miles is kind of like he works at a winery. And they both have their trauma issues from their childhood. And I do like their relationship and the banter that they have with each other. There is some miscommunication in this book that just annoyed me. So these characters, she's 33, he's 35. And I felt like they acted like the characters in Happy Place. And I hated Happy Place, because I felt like the characters were just so immature. These are characters in their 30s, and I just felt like they acted so immature, and it drove me bonkers. And so I did like their relationship, and I liked the banter. I did not like the miscommunication that they have, and I didn't like how immature they acted. And I'm so disappointed, because I was like, ooh, I usually like her books where the main characters are in the bookish world. So hopefully I'll like this. Didn't really care for it. I'm so annoyed. Emily Henry, you can do better. Do better. And lastly, I read Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies by Heather Fawcett. And so this is the first book in a series. I love the cover. Like both this cover and the white cover, I just think are absolutely stunningly gorgeous. So this follows Cambridge professor Emily Wilde as she travels to a land, to fictional land. It reminds me a lot of Scandinavia. And she is trying to study the fairies that are in that world, to include them. It's her final study to include them in her encyclopedia that she's going to release. I gave this book 3.5 stars. I wanted to like it more. I fought against this book. And I think the reason why is it was marketed to me as cozy fantasy. Well, I think cozy fantasy as Legends and Lattes and Bookshop and Modest. It really, to me, I think it's more cottagecore, I think. If I'm understanding that genre right, I don't know. Because it's more focused on... I mean, there are some... And here's why I wouldn't say that it's cozy. There are some really pretty dark things in this book. There also is a romance here, and I just wasn't really buying it. One, because I didn't really care for the male character in the love interest. And I'm like, wow, this is just so, like, she does not know the cues from people. She does not pick up on cues from people. She's very much in her world of wanting to be an academic and study these fairies. So I fought against it. Would I and as I was reading it, I realized, like, I'm fighting against this. I just need to let the story take me. And once I did that, I liked it better. But it wasn't great. Will I read the next book? Probably. Because I do want something lighter in between the heavy tomes. So hopefully book 2 is better. I don't know. Whew. Sorry, this was a long video. It was a little bit rambly. I apologize for that. What are your takes on any of these books? Did you like any of these books that I did not really care for as much? And what was your favorite book that you read this month? I'm doing kind of like a bracket right now, and right now I've got A Court of Mist and Fury as my top book for this month. And that's hard because I was like, Between Shades of Grey was almost tied, but I was like, I selected A Court of Mist and Fury because it fit more with where my mental state was for most of the month. So, blessings to you all, and hope you're able to enjoy this weather. Bye.